Welcome to Outdoor Builts, where we break down real survival and construction skills in the wild. In today's video, we'll study how Bjorn Brenton builds a forest cabin using natural tools, traditional methods, and pure craftsmanship. Let's begin. Once the location is selected, the ground is cleared of debris, loose soil, and vegetation. This creates a clean, level surface and prevents future shifting or moisture problems beneath the structure. Using simple measuring methods, Bjorn marks the cabin's footprint. Accurate spacing ensures the structure will be balanced and properly aligned, even without modern tools. Four post holes are dug at equal distances. These holes act as the foundation points, allowing the cabin to stand firmly against wind and environmental pressure. Strong, straight logs are selected and cut for the main posts. The quality of these posts is important, as they will carry the full weight of the roof structure. Each post is carefully positioned inside its hole, then stabilized with soil and compacted tightly. This step ensures the posts remain vertical and secure. Next, Bjorn gathers additional wood to form the roof frame. These pieces are chosen based on length and thickness to support the roof load evenly. Precise notches are carved into the logs using basic hand tools. These notches allow the wood to lock together naturally, increasing strength without the use of metal fasteners. Before installing the roof beams, a layer of moss is placed on top of the posts. This natural material acts as insulation and helps reduce moisture transfer between the wood layers. Finally, the roof beams are set into place, fitting perfectly into the notches. This completes the main frame of the cabin, demonstrating how traditional techniques and natural materials can create a strong, functional shelter in the forest. Bjorn begins by installing the tarpaulin on the roof frame, carefully placing one side first before securing the other. This method helps maintain proper alignment and prevents the material from shifting during installation. To hold the tarpaulin in place, he uses long nails, driving them directly into the structure. Bjorn relies on the back of his axe as a hammer, demonstrating a practical wilderness technique when equipment is limited. Once the waterproof layer is secured, he gathers several medium-sized pieces of wood from the surrounding forest. These will form the primary protective layer of the roof. The wooden roof pieces are then installed closely beside each other on one side, creating a solid surface that adds weight and stability over the tarpaulin. After completing the first side, Bjorn repeats the same process on the opposite side, ensuring the roof remains balanced and evenly supported. To reinforce the front of the structure, he selects two larger logs and places them intersecting at the roof's edge. This crossing design strengthens the roof while helping direct rainwater away from the cabin. Finally, Bjorn fills the gaps between the roof logs with forest moss. Moss acts as a natural insulator and sealant, reducing airflow, improving heat retention, and adding another layer of weather protection.
At this stage of the build, Bjorn focuses on refining the cabin's wall structure using simple, natural methods. Instead of modern tools, he removes the bark from each log using a shovel. This process not only cleans the wood, but also helps prevent insects and decay over time. Between the vertical posts, soil is carefully dug out to prepare a stable base. This trenching work is repeated across multiple posts, ensuring the logs will sit evenly and securely. To improve insulation, Bjorn gathers moss from the surrounding forest. This natural material plays a critical role in sealing gaps and retaining warmth inside the cabin. The moss is first laid directly onto the dugout soil, creating a soft yet insulating foundation. A log is then placed horizontally on top of the moss, allowing it to settle naturally into position. Additional moss is layered over the log before another one is added. Each log is shaped by cutting precise notches into the posts, allowing the next log to lock firmly into place. This technique is repeated throughout the wall: moss for insulation, notches for stability, and logs stacked carefully to form a solid structure. On the opposite side of the cabin, Bjorn gathers more logs and installs them using the exact same method, maintaining balance and structural consistency across the build. When forming the wall section for the window, he uses a handmade DIY saw to cut the log to size. This careful adjustment allows natural light to enter the cabin without compromising strength. Every action in this process highlights a deep understanding of traditional building methods, proving that with patience, skill, and natural materials, a functional shelter can be built entirely in the forest.
At this stage of the build, several foundational steps have already been completed. Here, Bjorn focuses on refining the cabin's structure by carefully shaping the back and front walls using traditional log building techniques. He begins by measuring the distance between the rear support posts. This ensures that every log fits precisely and that the wall remains straight and structurally balanced as it rises. The ground beneath the wall is then prepared by digging into the soil and laying down moss. This natural material acts as both insulation and a moisture barrier, a method commonly used in traditional forest cabins. Logs are cut to size and stacked horizontally, one on top of another, forming the cabin wall. Between each layer, moss is tightly packed to seal gaps, reduce drafts, and help stabilize the structure. Additional logs are gathered from the surrounding forest, selected carefully for size and shape. These logs are then stacked methodically to complete the height of the back wall. For the front section of the cabin, Bjorn gathers more moss, preparing it for the same insulation process. The logs are stacked on one side of the support post, while the opposite side is intentionally left open to allow space for a future door. Before each new log is placed, moss is added again, reinforcing the wall's insulation and keeping the structure tight as it grows taller. As the wall reaches higher levels, Bjorn carefully cuts into selected logs to form an opening for a front window. This step requires precision to maintain strength while allowing natural light inside the cabin. One side of the front wall is completed first, serving as a stable reference point for the remaining structure. Larger, stronger logs are then gathered and secured vertically to the posts, forming a solid door frame. This frame anchors the entrance and supports the weight of the logs above it. With the door frame in place, Bjorn continues stacking logs on top, completing the wall section and bringing the cabin closer to its final shape. The cabin's main structure has already been completed. Bjorn begins by sawing wood square sticks, selecting pieces that are straight and usable. These additional sticks will support finishing details rather than the main frame. To improve the doorway, he removes excess wood from the door frame using an axe, trimming down uneven sections. This step is important to ensure the door sits flat and opens smoothly, preventing long-term structural stress. He then cuts 2 larger logs and positions them at the base of the doorway, creating a solid sill. This helps elevate the door slightly from the ground, protecting it from moisture and rot, while also adding strength to the entrance. Next, Bjorn constructs an additional door frame using squared wooden sticks. Shaping wood into square profiles allows tighter joints and better alignment, especially important when attaching moving parts like doors. For the door itself, smaller logs are gathered and cleaned, with branches removed using an axe. This process not only improves the appearance, but also ensures each piece fits tightly against the others. These logs are then laid side by side on the wooden frame and secured using a drill. Drilling allows for stronger, more controlled connections compared to hammering alone, especially when working with uneven natural materials. Once completed, the door is fitted into the doorway and attached with hinges, again using the drill for accuracy and durability. Proper hinge placement ensures smooth movement and long-term reliability. To seal gaps around the door, moss is packed between the spaces of the logs. This traditional technique provides natural insulation, blocking cold air, wind, and insects without the need for modern materials. A wooden handle is then attached, completing the door's functionality while keeping the build entirely natural and consistent with the cabin's design. Inside the cabin, Bjorn cleans the interior, removing debris and loose material. This step prepares the space for flooring and makes the cabin more livable. For the floor, logs are gathered and laid side by side, forming a sturdy base. Once aligned, additional logs are collected and placed again where needed to improve coverage and stability. To access higher areas, Bjorn builds a wooden ladder, keeping the design simple but strong, just enough to safely reach the roof and upper sections. Before weatherproofing, he cleans the roof, ensuring there are no sharp edges or loose debris that could damage covering materials. A tarpaulin is then placed over the roof and secured with nails. Using the back of the axe to drive the nails is a practical solution when working with limited tools, showing efficient use of what's available. For the window, square wooden sticks are installed as a frame and small branches are added over them. This provides ventilation and light while maintaining privacy and protection from the elements. With all these elements in place, the log cabin reaches completion. A functional, weather-resistant shelter built using natural materials, traditional techniques, and minimal tools.
That concludes today's build breakdown here on Outdoor Builds. If you learned something from Bjorn Brenton's cabin techniques, support the craft by liking, subscribing, and watching more builds. See you in the next one.